Hello everyone, I'm Slade, I'll be your host, and welcome to Star Wars Did You Know? In this video, we're going to be discussing the various subclasses of the Victory-class Star Destroyer, including the Victory 1, Victory 2, Victory 3, and the Galactic Alliance variant. In addition, at the end of the video, we're going to show some fan-made Victory Star Destroyers, just to give you an idea of what can be done with this class for those of you who have a more creative leaning. Hope you enjoy the video. If you're interested, there is a general overview of the Victory class as a whole, which is the part 1 of this series. There's a link in the description below, and we'll move on from there. The first model of the Victory class Star Destroyer was the Victory 1, which was a direct result of the Victor Initiative project. It came online during the second half of the Clone Wars, where it served alongside the Venator-class Star Destroyer. It was noted for having a poor sublight speed and a weak hyperdrive. However, it was very effective in planetary assaults. When the Galactic Empire came to power, they continued to use the Victory class predominantly in the Outer Rim, where the smaller class was considered to be more economically feasible than the larger Imperial class. However, it did still see service in battle fleets, where larger warships would knock down the shields of enemy ships, followed by devastating missile barrages from the Victory class's missile batteries. In addition to this, over 500 ships were sold to the Corporate Sector Authority, making them one of the most common large capital ships to be used by the Corporate Sector Authority in their own space. Because of the surplus hulls of Victory 1 class Star Destroyers, the Empire made extensive use of them as test beds for new technology, new weapons, and even new propulsion systems, meaning that no two Victory 1s were necessarily identical in Imperial service. Because of this and their sale to many other third parties, the Victory 1 was the most widely seen and most widely used of the Victory-class Star Destroyers. The Victory 2 was an improved version of the original Victory-class Star Destroyer that came online following the Clone Wars. Produced in limited numbers, it was originally meant to be the main Fleet Forces ship of the Imperial Navy. However, the Galactic Empire selected the Imperator class, later renamed Imperial-class Star Destroyer, to serve as their primary warship, relegating the Victory 2 to secondary roles. It was designed specifically for space combat. Its engines were upgraded from the original design, making it comparable with the speed of the Imperial-class Star Destroyer. In addition to this, its weapons were upgraded, making it more on par with a larger warship. It was usually deployed in pairs or as a flotilla leader, often alongside carriers or smaller cruisers and escort ships. Frequently used as an anti-piracy vessel or on capture missions. An interesting tactic would be to see these ships deployed alongside interdictor cruisers, and while there is no canon reference for such a tactic, given the fact that the Victory Star Destroyer Class 2 is mentioned to have been used specifically for capture and anti-piracy missions, deploying them alongside an interdictor with a cruiser screen simply makes sense. These ships, because of their limited number, were not widely used by the Galactic Empire. However, they were often seen as stepping stones to larger Imperial-class captains, who would start their service aboard Victory 2 classes and later transition up to the larger Imperial 1 and Imperial 2 class ships. The Victory 3 class Star Destroyer is something of an enigma, appearing in only one comic and with no wiki page of its own. It only appears as a footnote on the Legends Canon wiki page of the Victory 1 class Star Destroyer. However, fans of Star Wars decided to expand on that design, and that is the information I will be sharing with you now. Produced following the Battle of Endor, the Victory 3 class Star Destroyer was designed to combat the growing threat of the New Republic. Specifically, it was designed to fight the New Republic's fleet of Mon Calamari cruisers, which had proven so dangerous at the Battle of Endor. It was larger than the standard Victory Star Destroyer, faster than the Imperial-class Star Destroyer, and had more powerful weapons than its predecessors. Because its principal role was to engage other starships, the Victory 3 did away with the maneuvering vanes, which had been signatures of the earlier Victory-class ships, the Victory 1 and Victory 2. This meant that it could no longer enter an atmosphere and maneuver nimbly. However, it was still quite capable of participating in planetary assaults. It is unknown exactly how many of these ships were built. However, it is known they were frequently used to screen larger Imperial-class Star Destroyers and other vessels from the Mon Calamari cruisers, which they had been designed to combat. Following the Yuuzhan Vong War, the newly formed Galactic Alliance commissioned a new variant of the Victory-class Star Destroyer. This Galactic Alliance variant would see a return of the maneuvering vanes that had been removed in the Victory 3 class. However, unlike its predecessors, this class was not designed as a fleet combatant. Rather, it was designed purely for long-range patrols to combat piracy and smuggling. As such, it was equipped with powerful engines, but lighter weapons. In addition, it had two large turreted tractor beam projectors, which were capable of towing large asteroids and keeping sizable starships held in place while the ship inspected them. While not meant for combat, one ship of this new class, called the Admiral Akbar, was captured by the Killik colony and used in their invasion of the Chiss Ascendancy. The next two ships we're going to discuss are not canon vessels. In fact, they're fan creations by friends of mine that I chose to share to give an example of what you can do as a creator with a Victory-class Star Destroyer. The first ship, the one we have art for, is the Pursuer. The Pursuer is a modified Victory-class Star Destroyer that has a single gravity well projector, enabling it to act as an interdictor, and it's used by a member of the Inquisitorius in his hunt for rebels. The second Victory-class Star Destroyer that's been made by a friend of mine is the Armageddon. Now this ship, unfortunately we don't have any art for it. However, a good analogy would be the Conqueror, which is going to be shown here. The Conqueror was a Star Destroyer from another Star Wars game that had a super laser mounted to its superstructure. And as you can see, a portion of the hull has been cut out, and the super laser has been placed inside of it. Now, obviously the Armageddon is a much smaller vessel. In addition, it wasn't mounting a super laser. Instead, it mounted a hypervelocity cannon, but the principle is the same. It sacrifices armament and troop and fighter capacity for a single large cannon which can destroy ships, etc. Now, this sort of ship would be used much like an artillery piece in the main battle. It would hang back with defending forces and engage enemy capital ships. And the purpose of showing you these two ships isn't necessarily to say, hey, look, these are awesome ships, although they are admittedly awesome ships. It's also to show you the sort of thing you can do with the Victory-class hull as a base. Remember, the Empire modified Victories extensively. The Galactic Alliance eventually modified their own Victories very extensively with their own version. As a creator, if you're a role player or a writer or someone who makes art for Star Wars, have fun with the Victory sometime. It's a fun ship, it's an awesome ship, and you can do a lot with the basic hull. And with that final note, we conclude this brief series on the Victory-class Star Destroyer. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Alright everyone, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to like and subscribe. There'll be more content coming. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, please do so. Every little bit helps. Until next time, this is your host Slade, and this has been Star Wars Did You Know?